Hey guys, good morning. Welcome back to our Bible study in the book of Romans. Brother Jason, good to be with you again this morning. It's kind of funny. I always just like being transparent when I open this up. I've literally been out here in the yard for what appears 19 minutes now, just reading and kind of praying and like, God, where do we go this morning? How much do we cover? And so sometimes even I myself feel kind of overwhelmed for those of you at church this morning. I'm going to miss y'all this morning that still tune in and watch this. Hope you have a good service as well. I'll be seeing you again next week as we start now the official pastor of Mountain View Church. So look forward to all that brings with it. Just a quick this morning, hey, I love and appreciate each and every one of you that tune in and watch with us this program every week. So, hey, let's go to it. 1 minute in, let's go to the scripture. Romans chapter 12, verse 9. Let love be without hypocrisy. Abhor what is evil. Cling to what is good. Be kindly affectionate to one another with brotherly love, and honor giving preference to one another, not lagging in diligence, fervent in spirit, serving the Lord, rejoicing in hope, patient in tribulation, continuing steadfastly in prayer, distributing to the needs of the saints, giving the hospitality. God, we just ask, Lord, if you would be with us this morning as we make our study in your book of Romans. God, remove the distractions that we face today. God, help lift us up. God, help me to find the way in which this word comes alive this morning, God, that we use it in our lives. God, I thank you so much. I thank you for this Thanksgiving week, God. I thank you for family, God. I thank you for in the midst of COVID-19, you found a way for us to still communicate and us to still show love with each other. God, we thank you so much in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. So again, good morning and welcome back. And, it seems like this is just such a different year this year. Like we didn't have Thanksgiving the way we normally do. There's so much different. Christmas is going to be different. There's going to be a lot of sickness this year going in, I'm sure, post Thanksgiving. And it is, but I still see it as this chance we've had to get back to the basics of family and back to God. And so it's kind of interesting. I guess if I was going to title the message this morning, it would be like, I guess, what is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Never mind. I won't do that anymore. Derek, if you're watching this, I'm sure you're already making fun of me. All right. So what is love, though? And because we start into this chapter, think about where we finished last week. We finished going back to the beginning, and somebody's already going, oh no, he's going back to the beginning. Fast forward 15 minutes. I'm just joking. But we went back to this chapter. Remember, this chapter was about now. We've done the 11 chapters of doctrine. Now it's where the rubber meets the road. How do we start applying this? And remember, the idea was Paul's gave us 11 chapters of what God's done for us, and now it's this time, what is it that we're doing in response to what God is doing for us? What is our response? And Paul made it real simple. Offer your body a what? A living sacrifice. And then Paul moved on, and he went through all these different gifts, and he gave just a small, it was not every gift, but he went through this little small section of spiritual gifts. And the idea was he wasn't trying to give this illustration of gifts or breaking down and defining all the gifts, not what we see in Corinthians, but he's going through and giving us this sampling of gifts. And the idea was, whatever it is God has gifted you to do, go do it. Go do it today. If it's to preach, preach, teach. If it's to give, today would be a good day. Go give. Even in the secular world, in the holiday season, we see giving at its highest. It would be a good time. In other words, last week's message was simple. Just do it. Do something would be an idea. Stop sitting around and making church a spectator sport and expecting everybody else to do something. I think that's why a lot of people, they love going to the big church. It's because I can hide in the pew. And I get it. You've been hurt in church, and Paul's going to address that right now. The fact that you've been hurt in the church. He's going to take care of that issue. And that's why we're going to start talking about love. But this idea is, it's time to do something. You say you love him. What are you doing? What are you doing? And so that's where we move from into this section now. You say you love him. What are you doing? So now he says, all right, so let me tell you how to act one towards another. Wow, there is a massive gray cat that I've never seen moving through the yard this morning. I think I just scared the daylights out of it. See ya, kitty. Could you get a chipmunk, please? They're driving me crazy. But what is your response? What is your response? So now look at what Paul says. We're moving into this section, and now he's saying, and this could be one of the toughest parts. The rest of Corinthians chapter 12 now is broken up into, how do you love those that are in your family of God? How do you love those that are in your church? And then how do you love those that are against you in the world? What could be more applicable today than this section of text? How do you love those who say they love you? And obviously, we understand that there's a lot of times people say they love us, and we don't really see that real well. We wouldn't have the degrees. Probably ministry-wise, I deal with people suffering church hurt more than anything else. And I always tell them, if church is right, it's like a family. And nobody can hurt you like family can. And it's for the reason family knows you. That's why it's amazing how family knows exactly what to say. They know the exact button, click, to push to cause maximum damage because they know you so well. And that's why church can cause you to become hurt so well. And vice versa. In the world, we know the world is against us. In many ways, this part of Romans chapter 12, that's actually easier to deal with because it's harder to deal with those who love us. That's why, in particular, we talk about divorce or something like that. Divorce is such a painful thing because it's someone that loves you. And now, one of the things we'll see here is you can't control other people. That's just one of these, you've got to understand that more than anything else. You cannot control other people. The only thing you can control is your response. And that's a big part of what we're getting here in Romans. You can't control other people. So it's this idea, though, you've been in a situation maybe where somebody has intentionally chose to say, I don't love you. I choose someone else over you. A church even situation where it's literally been like you feel like you've been pushed aside in the church. Let's go right into it this morning. Let love be without hypocrisy. And instantly, I think this is where, within the church, where we've had our problem, because people are always this word, hypocrites. And, we say it over and over. People always say, I'm not going to that church. It's full of a bunch of hypocrites. And the joke is always, you say, well, come on down. One more's not going to hurt anything. And we've always got this. We've got this tendency. We do things. We do stupid things. I'll be the first one to say it. My mouth is my number one stupid thing. That's why I don't like recording messages. It's because I'm scared I will say something stupid and it's recorded. My mouth has gotten away from me. Even as born again in church before, my mouth has gotten away from me and somebody's been hurt because of it. And it's one of those things that, you can say you're sorry, and there's got to be this degree of maturity between Christians. And, I'm sitting here right now even feeling like, none of us are perfect, but this idea of what is let love be without hypocrisy. Remember what the where we get the word hypocrisy. It comes from the Greek. It literally means to wear a mask. If you've ever watched like theater or dramas, you know how they always have the little mask to represent the theater. And that was the idea in the Greek culture is, you put on your sad face or you put on your happy face. Maybe you put on your I'm caring face. And that's the thing. He's saying, let it be real love. When you love somebody, and it's kind of funny, we've got such especially America, I think, we've got such a mixed up idea of what love is. And that's what I said, what is love? We say we love our kids, but I can also say, ooh, I smoked a brisket. By the way, it was fantastic for Thanksgiving. You might say, I love brisket. And it's like, do you love brisket the same way you love your kids? And so we've got this love, like, and that's where in the Greek it was so much better, because in the Greek they actually had multiple words for love. In the Greek you had words like eros, which actually was kind of representative of from one of the Greek gods with Eros, but it's where we get this erotic love. Eros love is more like this reaching and grasping kind of love. It's more about satisfaction and desire. And we don't find the word eros for love. We don't find that in our Bible. But then you've got the word like storge in the Greek, and Paul will use that in this text. There's a reason why I'm saying this. We're getting in this right now. We'll see the word storge, and the word storge is that family love. And the word storge applies so good to church because we're a family of God, this storge love. And then the word filio, and we've all heard Philadelphia. If you're a child of the 90s like me, you have to go in West Philadelphia, born and raised in the playground. That's where I spent most of my days. Okay, I won't do any more of that. But we're familiar with this idea of phileo, this filio love, this brotherly love. That's what the name of the sea means, this brotherly type of love. And what's interesting, though, that's like our love for humankind. But, the phileo love, it's like we pick love, we choose who we love with the phileo love. We don't necessarily love everybody that way. And then the word, and you've heard this word, if you've been in church at all, you've heard it. Even if you didn't understand it, is the agape love. And the agape love is what we see. I think it's over 250 times in the New Testament. We see this idea of agape love, and it's a sacrificial love. And the best way to describe it, Jesus on the cross, that was agape love. It's one thing, was it Matthew 5:46, Jesus is talking about, how we love. And he talks about if you just love your friends, then slow clap. If you just, how about this? Let's turn to it. I'll say it better. I won't do the Jason Cole translation. Matthew 5:46. For if you love those who love you, what reward have you? Do not even the tax collectors do the same? And so I like how Jesus throws in the tax collectors there. Even the tax collectors, the people that were the most despised at this time, and nothing personal if you work for the IRS, you may still not be the most loved individual. But remember, at this time, the tax collectors is a little different because they got their tax and then you made money by taking whatever you could for yourself. So they stuck it to people even more so. So they were very despised. But he says, if you love those who love you, what have you accomplished? You've done nothing at this point. And so you got to remember with Jesus on the cross, what makes the story so different compared to everything else is when Jesus died, he was dying for his who? His enemies. He was dying for me. And before I came to Christ, I was an enemy of the cross. And that's why we have persecution in the world, is we are enemies. Those who, Jesus made it real simple. You're either with me or you're against me. And so, but that's what's beautiful about agape love. It was the love for the enemy. It was the giving of my life for you, even though you don't love me, I'm giving my life for you. And that's what makes this text stand out. Let your love be without hypocrisy. Let this be true love, not fake love, not like Judas. Remember, Judas had fake love. He was wearing the mask. Passion play we used to do at church. One of my favorite scenes was Mary in the alabaster box, and how Mary took and she broke the expensive flask of spikenard out on Jesus. And if you remember, Judas was standing back watching it, and he had a scowl on his face. And Judas was probably, for some people, sounded very righteous. Judas was like, does she not know that we could have sold that? That was a year's wages. She just poured out on Jesus' feet. We could have sold that and given it to the poor. And then the Bible illustrates that was not, Judas was sounding pious about, but remember, he was also the one who kept up. He was the treasurer of the disciples. He kept up with the finances, and he had also been stealing money from the church. Essentially, is what it boils down to at the time. So it was a fake love. He was putting on the sense, and I think that's where, for so many of us, we've seen that in church. We've been witnesses firsthand to the fake love. The people who say they love you, but then when the rubber meets the road and the opportunities come that you really need them, that you really rely on them, it's not there. That love isn't there. It was a fake love. It was a lip service form of love. But here Paul is saying, how far have we gotten? Not even through verse 9 yet. But let love be without hypocrisy. Let it be a true love. Don't love like Judas. If you say you're going to do something, do it. If you're going to stand with your brothers or stand with your sisters, stand with them. This is just, I don't guess it's just American, but it's all over the world. Our words mean nothing anymore. Nobody can take what we say to have value anymore, and it's kind of a sad thing. I think back in the outlaw Josie Wells when Tin Bear, your words have iron. Tin Bear's word have the same iron. And I make a lot of quotes like that, don't I? But anyway, we see this, our words, we don't have anything anymore. There's no iron in our words. That movie said it perfectly. Our words they're nothing. We've got nothing. Let love be without hypocrisy. Abhor what is evil. And we've got this idea, Jesus, we're not supposed to hate. No, abhor what is evil. That means you need to hate what is evil. Hate what is evil. Hate the evil of this world. Cling to what is good. We live more than ever where I cannot distinguish the line as Christians. We've become so engulfed into this idea that you must accept and tolerate, accept and tolerance and all these kinds of things. And the thing is, it always boils down to, in Christianity, you love the person, you love the sinner. Remember, people are always asking us, like, don't you get upset over what this person does or that? And it's like, no, not usually, because when it comes to sinners, what should you expect a sinner to do? Sinners sin. It's what they do. That's why I always say it's someone who professes to be Christian that does something. That's when my heart gets broken personally. But we've come into this, we forgot that real premise. We love the sinner, but we hate the sin itself. But too many times we place where like we're in judgment and things like this. And before Christ, we were all sinners. We're not sinners. You're not a sinner anymore. If you have been to Christ, if you have been, you've accepted this free gift, you're not a sinner anymore. Remember, you are sanctified. You are now a saint going through sanctification. I wish we would start getting that across. You should be living different. But so many of us, we claim to be Christian, and we happily accept everything the world has to offer. Remember, Paul's already said it in 12:2. He said, what? Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. We live too many of us, we're just happy to live in this world, and we tolerate all the evil. We don't mind what we see on TV, the profanity, the violence, the sex, I forgot what it is. I think what it is, by the time your kids are 14 years old or 16, I saw the statistic one time, they've seen, like, if they watch normal television, there's been they will have observed something like 90,000 acts of sex outside of marriage, otherwise known as fornication. They will have observed like 90,000 acts of sex outside marriage by the time they're 14, 15, 16, something like that. It's an absolutely insane number watching standard television. So you think about every little scene, that even where the implied man, woman, and then the lights dim out, you think about it over and over. Y'all, it's like anything. It's the conditioning of your mind, and we've already talked about that. When you just keep allowing these same things over and over, it's like all sin. In the case of a sinner, I can remember having to talk myself into things. You remember we've said the intuition, God's given you a bit of discernment where some things are wrong. And so we'll start out in a path of sin on something, even before Christ, and we'll know this ain't right. But it is amazing how we can always talk ourselves into. We have this way of self-justification. Everything's all right. Well, Christian child of God, it's time to end the self-justification. You've already learned justification is from God Himself. And so it's time to stop living in this world just because everybody else is doing it. It's not okay. Just because TV says it's okay, it's not okay. Just because at age 19 it's legal to buy tobacco products. Now I've just stumbled on something. Are you saying I'm going to hell for using tobacco? No, I'm not. But I'm also going to tell you, it's not the healthiest choice you can make. Just because it's legal does not mean it's okay for you to do it. I've had people ask me that before. If I smoke, am I going to hell? No. And the preacher who told you that, shame on them. No. If you accept Christ, and Christ, you and your relationship with Christ determines what the heaven or the hell part of it. The fact you're smoking just means you may get to heaven a little bit quicker, is all it boils down to. But that's where we always say, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. If the Holy Spirit's inside of you, if He's against your smoking, I've known people before that they were even smoking cigarettes made them physically sick. They'd been smoking for years, and they would get deathly ill from smoking. They're like, I don't know what's going on. And I'm sitting there listening. It's like, sounds like God is trying to help you quit smoking your cigarettes. So we look, though, at all these things. The world tells you this is okay. It's okay. Hey, if you live in Oregon, it's okay to smoke dope. What is it? Now, let's see. Marijuana, cocaine, and methamphetamine is even legal now in the state. There's at Oregon or Colorado where they legalize cocaine and methamphetamine now. It must be okay. Everybody's doing it. It's legal. That's one of those moments I'm just speechless. It's obviously that democracy has started to crumble. And if you read if you took me in government classes, most democracies can't last but like a couple of 100 years. And so we're already in overtime right now. We start legalizing things like that. But Paul is saying you've got to hate the things that are evil. You've got to have a sense enough to stop living in this world. Stop saying things are okay. Stop saying things are okay. You need to abhor. You should hate the evil things of this world. It's okay to walk into the gas station that has all the dirty magazines lined up at the front counter. There's one not far from my house like that. It's okay to walk in and say, you know what? I don't really want to buy my gas here because this trash, this filth, because what happens to people, they walk in day after day and they see it and they're like, Well, it's okay. It's right there. It's okay. And then the next thing you know, it's in your hand. All sin leads to other sin. It's always amazing how that goes about. Paul says you got to hate it. Remember what Jesus said? If your right hand causes you to sin, do what? You cut it off. There's got to be a hatred for the things that are sinful of this world, and you need to be removing them from your life. Hey, good news is we've covered one verse. Abhor what is evil, cling to what is good. But now he says, be kindly affectionate, phileo storge. Paul actually combines brotherly love and family love in the sense of this family of God, and he puts them together. Be kindly affectionate. This is what real love is. He says you need to have real love to one another with brotherly love, this phileo love, Philadelphia, born and raised on the playground. This brotherly love in honor, giving preference one to another. So now Paul goes on to say, you need this family of God. You need to have real love. If you're in the church for each other, you need to matter one to another, not just the pastor loving his. And from the pastor standpoint, that means we've obviously got a lot of pastors. They're more interested in the paycheck it brings. They're interested in the glory, the notoriety. We've got a lot of issues in that department. But it's not just from the pastor department. It's everybody in there. We need to have this love, this brotherly love, this family love, one for another. Now he goes through, he's making it very clear, not lagging in diligence, but fervent in spirit. It needs to be a working love, a doing your best, something you're pouring yourself into. Fervent in the spirit literally translates to boiling over. You need to be on fire. I'm going to say something that's terrible, but when you get saved and join most churches, the first thing you probably need to do is backslide just so you can enjoy your fellowship. Because too many people in the churches now, they got saved. They might have had a little bit of fire when they first got saved, but now they've eased back off of it. And they've been content because what happened? They got into the church and they've seen all these people that are now comfortable. They no longer abhor what is evil. They no longer cling to what is good. They've come to more of an acceptance with things of the world. Or they've done the things we've said. They've brought God down to their level. But they're not on fire anymore. Paul's saying, hey, you need to have real love. You need to have real love one for another, and you need to be on fire in the Spirit. You need to be to the point that you are boiling over. People should notice you. You should stand out. You should be a peculiar thing. This doesn't just mean a Jesus bumper sticker, but people should catch you in the act of doing something for somebody else. They should catch you loving. Wouldn't that be awesome to be able to say, I caught you loving on somebody the other day. That was amazing right now. But he says fervent, serving the Lord. It's what it's all been about so far. Remember we said, you want to know, we've already read it. You want to know the will of God? Go work for God is what Paul is saying. Rejoicing in hope. What hope? What is it, the hope that we have? We've got what hope? We know that Jesus is coming back. We've got a hope that the rest of the world does not and will not understand. We know that one day Jesus is coming back. Could be today, could be tomorrow, could be before this message finishes. Man, I'd be excited. But we've got this hope. We've got this hope that we know He's coming back one day. Patient in the tribulation. And as always, the part we don't like. Patient in the tribulation. You got to realize this part of being Christian, this patient in tribulation. We're talking about this endeavoring, this holding steadfastly. Because as a Christian, especially if you're on fire, you'll even get tribulation from within the church itself. People, they're like, you need to settle down. Because it's funny, you get saved and you get on fire, and instantly it's like you go to your family, and you'll definitely have like some opposition within your family. Oh, you're one of these Jesus freaks now. All right, I see what's going on. You threw the DVDs out and all this kind of stuff. And yes, if you're wondering, yeah, there should be a little house cleaning in your life when you come to Christ. I remember going through my movie collection and tossing a bunch of the stuff out that's like, I don't want this in my house anymore. This is before family, before kids for me, any of that. There was a house cleaning. But it's amazing how people instantly rejoice on patient in the tribulation. You'll get tribulation from in the church. You'll get people that are going to say things against you. If you're too on fire for God, you'll get people even within the church itself. They're going to end up having little comments against you because you're actively pursuing. Because too many people, well, they probably stayed out at the Iron Bowl party last night and won't find themselves doing, they'll go to an Iron Bowl party with 30 people, but if you'll ask them about church this morning, they'll be like, oh, I'm not going there. There's too big a chance I might catch COVID. Uh-oh. I think I went too far with that comment, didn't I? I don't know if you know this, but I don't even care at this point. Patient in the tribulation. You're going to go through it. And the funny thing is, I can even say from having been subject of tribulation within a church itself, it's funny. Remember, if you go back to the book of Acts, and we saw what happened as a result of the tribulation that we saw in Acts. Remember, the church started in Jerusalem, and they were meeting, and everything was great, and then the church come under extreme tribulation, and what happened to those in the church? They spread. And as a result of spreading, they took the gospel to other places. And that's how everything finally got into motion. They got too comfortable in the church. I can even say in my own life, it took tribulation within the church where I didn't feel welcome anymore to get me out to where I was actually doing the very things God called me to do. I wouldn't be a pastor at a church today if God wouldn't have provided some tribulation for me a couple of years ago to get me out and get me moving. So it's funny, these things we see as like, oh, woe is me, this is bad. Why don't my brothers and sisters that claim to love me like they said they would love me? And we don't understand God, maybe He's wanting you be patient. Be patient. Know that God has, if we've learned anything from Romans so far, it's that God has got a plan, and the plan may be it's time for you to move. The church where you've been for, in my case, since I was saved, the church where you've been all the time, that might not be your church anymore. God may have a use for you, and that use is elsewhere. And God's going to do what God has to do. Your job, you may be like, my job just isn't what it used to be. God may be working things in your job because it's time for you to move to another job. So God will do all these things. And so we're reminded you need to be patient in all of it. Continuing steadfastly in prayer. So no matter what's going on, and that's where this conditioning that we talk about, you practice, you spend your days with God, this transforming of the mind. Remember we talked about in 12:2. You spend daily time with God. And so what happens when you end up in the persecution, it's amazing. You end up doing exactly what it says, continuing steadfastly in prayer. You're trained instantly when whatever happens in life, you do go to God instantly. My son got in a fire ant bed 2 days ago, bites on his hands and all this stuff. And it was one of those things. It was an instantaneous close off after bite prayer is exactly where we went. But it's that conditioning. And I've seen, even in my 6-year-old, I've even seen the same conditioning take place where he knows when something happens. My back was hurt. My back is still hurt. But I watched my son as I lay on the couch. He come over and he laid his hand, 6 years old. He lays his hand on me and starts praying over my back. This conditioning, he's being brought up. He knows how to respond to situations. Now, verse 13, distributing to the needs of the saints and giving the hospitality. And it's always interesting. I like this, distributing to the needs of the saint. Paul's telling us this practical love, putting love into motion, distributing to the needs. Remember, if you go back to Acts, what was the reason for the first deacons in the church? Deacons and even deaconesses. I do like to point out that somebody's told me before, there's no deaconesses, and it's like, actually, yes, there is. The word, it's there. It's in Scripture. You can't take that away. What was the purpose? It was serving. The first deacons were actually made for what reason? For the daily distribution in Jerusalem. They were taking care of the widows. And there was an argument between, I guess you could say, the true Jew, the ones from Jewish heritage and the ones from the Greek heritage. And there was some disagreement that one group was getting more than the other, so it wasn't fair. And so the deacons were appointed to help take care of the situation, because for the elders of the church, the most important thing you can be doing is spending your time in Scripture. And so that's why we need deacons. We need people in the church that can serve, that can take care of these things, and can take care of the needs of... Now notice this, it says the needs of the saints. I think people have gotten this idea that now the church should, we've got one messed up idea. The government should take care of everybody. That is not how things started. This modern idea of the government should take care of everybody. The Bible says, we see it in Thessalonians, if a man doesn't work, a man doesn't eat. And so I do believe we've got a problem in this country where we will take from those who will work and give to those who won't work. But if you look, it says the needs of the saints. So the idea is of the church then, and you'll see random strangers show up at the church, and there is a degree of sympathy or heart, yet hospitality. The hospitality. Notice where it says given the hospitality. The hospitality literally means a love for strangers. So from that standpoint, right, there is your love for strangers. But when it comes to this needs of the saints, one, if somebody's a saint, that means they're what? That means they're born again. They're under the blood. This is why, it's kind of interesting. We talk about the reasons for membership in the church, and I'll probably be pushing that over the next few months, is this need to belong to the church. And Romans is definitely foundational scripture for the reason why you need to belong to a church. We would actually see in the New Testament, we can see where when somebody went from one church to another, they took a letter with them, and it was essentially like a reference. It was saying, this person is who they say they are. This person does believe. This person, and we kind of do that even within the Baptist church though. We send letters, but we don't send them like as much as letters of recommendation. It's just like, this person belonged to this church, so they can belong to your church now. But it goes beyond that, because the idea is this. When it comes to God's money, we are stewards of His money. The church itself is a steward of God's money, which means people have this idea the church should just give money there, money all over the place. The number one priority of the church is taking care of those within the church. When somebody comes and they just randomly show up at the church and they're I'm down on my luck, I need this, the first question the church should ask is, well, where's your home church? Where is your home church? Where do you belong? Because that church's priority should be helping take care of those who have had misfortune in the church. Biblically speaking, as in things have happened in such a way that person has been unable. If you look back at Scripture, when it says that a man that won't take care of his family, he's worse than an infidel. Talk about you're basically placed in dog category is what it boils down to if you don't want to work to take care of your family. See, the church, the idea is we understand if you're a part of our church, we know you. And when you've went through something terrible, right, the church knows who you are and the church is able to take care of you at that time. We know brother so-and-so is having what the world would consider a spot of bad luck. From the church, we know that that person, God may have them going through a bit of a trial at this moment, and they're going through a rough patch. And the rough patch may be that person's faith needs to increase. And yeah, their faith is probably going to increase when they see the church who knows that that person is faithful. The church helps that person out. Look at what it says, the needs of the saints. We take care of those within the house of God first. It's a practical sign of the love. Yes, we practice hospitality, this need for strangers, but our first line is we're always looking to those who are of the faith, those of the family of God. And so you may not get, if you show up to our church, you may not get this handout, this sizable handout that you're looking for, because I want to know about your relationship to God first. If just giving somebody money doesn't necessarily solve the problem, if you don't know Christ and you don't belong to a church. And so there's what it comes down to. Remember, in the beginning, what was it they were doing? The distribution in Jerusalem was for what? The widows. The widows within the church. And there were even rules that were established as to which widows. If a widow was of a certain age, they were to be remarried and get back to work, or they should be working for the church. It wasn't just a complete handout. There was service given back to the church itself. And so we've kind of lost track of all that today. And let's go to verse 14 real quick, and we'll close with that. Verse 14, it is a transition to the world, but it's also still within the church, and that's why we'll close with this. We'll still close with this. Bless those who persecute you. That's both in the world, and that's both inside the church. Paul says, bless and do not curse. Bless and do not curse. In John chapter 16, verse 2, Jesus says, there's coming a day when people will kill you. How about this? Let's turn to it. And they'll think they're doing a service for me. I like this. John chapter 16, verse 2. They will put you out of the synagogues. Yes, listen to this. The time is coming that whoever kills you will think that he offers God a service. I've had somebody tell me before that for me to pastor a church because of my past, that I would lead everybody to hell. And they were being a high and righteous minded, like they were a deacon of a church. And if you pastor a church, you'll take everybody to hell. And it's like, well, God bless you. You know, that's one of those rare moments, both outside and inside the church. And we'll start here next week. But it's one of those rare moments. What are you going to do? Are you going to bless or are you going to curse? How are you going to respond when you're in the face of this? And that's where we started out today. This is going to help you so much. You cannot control other people. The things they do, the things they say, the only thing you have the ability to control is how you respond to it. And that's the conditioning that comes, the transforming of the mind. The more time you spend with God, the greater your ability is going to be to respond. The greater you're going to be able to face the situation, handle it in a matter where you bless and you don't curse. This is both to those in the world. Remember what we said. Nobody can hurt you like family. When that person in the church says something to you that's hurtful, you're going to take everybody to hell. You could quickly come right back because you probably know them well too. And you could probably say something just as hurtful, and you might be even to one-up them and say something that hurts them anymore. But remember, what are we supposed to be doing? Day by day, we're supposed to be becoming more like Christ. And the idea, and we'll finish as we finish Romans chapter 12 next week, the idea is this. when that person sees how you, both a lost person and the supposedly saved person, when they see you act the way you act, it should draw them closer to Christ. To the lost person, it should help them see the light that is Christ and cause them to want to become saved. Remember the jealousy we've talked about before? They want what you got. To the Christian who's not acting like a Christian, it should remind them of who they're supposed to be. How you respond to what they do, to the tribulation that they've brought you. And I know this is tough preaching today if you think about it, because none of us want tribulation. None of us want to be in this. But we're going to be. And all we can do, and all I can do, even in my own life, is pray. And let's just do that. It's 45 minutes. Let's pray. Father God, we thank you for this word. God, I ask, God, you be with those that have listened to it today, God, that you strengthen them. God, that they're able to act in the way that you would have them act. God, help us to love the way you teach us to love. Help us to love not just our friends, God, but help us to love what we'll later see our enemies. Help us to love those who say they love us but don't. God, we can't control them, but God, help us to control the things, the way we respond to the world. Help us to live apart from the world, and help us to be able to handle it. God, we love you and we praise you. In Jesus' name, amen. Well, I thought it'd be quick, and instead 46 minutes later, here we are. Hey guys, if you stuck this out, I love you each and every week. Feel free anytime to comment or do anything to say, that this is some great comments last week, and it helped push me to come back out this week and continue to be a part of this. But hey guys, I love you so much. For those of you at church today, love y'all. Appreciate you so much. I'll be back, and I'll see you next week, both on YouTube, God willing, and I'll be in the pulpit next week preaching. Love y'all. Bye.